Luis Rodriguez versus Jerome Rivera. Where the hell do I begin? First of all, you and I had a lot of frustration trying to find film on Luis Rodriguez, didn't we?
Yeah, to say the least.
Dude, I mean, why is it that screw you, Michaela? Why is it that when you try to find this film and you try to break this down, most of the time, like, where's your sorcery, right? Some promotions have YouTube channels. There are other backdoors to do it. Most of the time, it's all good and well. For the life of me, dog, this guy's got 12 fights, and you and I were acting like King Arthur searching for the damn Holy Grail, bro. Shouldn't be that difficult. Regardless, I took away as much as I could in the little bit of sample size that we had. Shout out to my man Sean Bitter for sending me a 5-round fight, thank God, of his from 2017. Jerome Rivera, here's the deal on him. People that may not know the face to put with the name would remember Jerome Rivera for his fight with Mao UFC ranked flyweight Brandon Royval, who coincidentally were supposed to fight on the first Contender Series card as a rematch, because in their first fight in the LFA, Jerome Rivera's arm did the stanky leg after he crashed into the octagon. It is one of the most gruesome, disgusting, horrible, awful in-fight injuries I have ever seen. And, you know, obviously you feel bad for the guy going down to Royval like that. Royval obviously eventually used that as a springboard to get into the UFC. Now Rivera is back. He's fighting Rodriguez. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Rivera, just like we talked about with the last fight with Jordan, he's another LFA guy, which I just think in general is encouraging. 125, yeah, you mentioned he fought Rydell. He also fought Roberto Sanchez, who wasn't in the UFC too long, but has some experience nonetheless. So it's nice to see that he's been in there with like guys that have competed at the UFC level. So that's definitely encouraging. I guess like the kind of like perplexing / interesting thing about his record is he's got a couple, or he has one submission loss to Sanchez, but I tend to think that based off the eye test, based off his BJJ pedigree, that he is a good submission grappler. He's really crafty and tricky on the ground. And I do think that he's the better submission grappler and grappler of the two. Like you said with Luis, it was like finding the Infinity Stones basically from the Avengers with that, 5-round fight that was like split up into like 5 different videos that you sent me. So that was pretty interesting. But
speak about that too. Like that's the point that we got to where the most or the biggest sample size in terms of film on this guy came by way of 5 separate video. Hey, guy who did that, just upload it all in one. How about that, dude? I mean, I'm sorry, like terrible time finding film on this guy. Continue, brother.
I mean, it was just it was so hard, but the conclusion that I came to was like, yeah, Luis could throw hands, like he's got some power, he's tricky, he's like crafty, he's powerful. He throws a lot of like unorthodox, like like spinning back elbows, which is cool. Like, I mean, it's nice that he could win by knockout in that way, and that might get him by like for the time being, I guess. But like as he moves his way up the ranks, like that is just gonna not fly as much. Like we just don't see that stuff happen at the UFC level that often because the fighters are more polished and more used to that. They're getting more equipped to the training. So I tend to think that Luis definitely can do a better job of tightening up his striking defense. I do think they both can improve in that area. But that said, I'm hopeful that happens because, again, this is the Contender Series. Both these guys are very young and improving, and they're getting the opportunity here to see if the potential that they hold is worth a UFC roster spot right here, right now. I do like to side with Rivera here. I just think he has more upside of the two, has fought the high level of opposition. And I think is just the more polished fighter of the two. I think he's a bit more defensively sound on the feet. Should the fight go to the ground, I think he could be a threat to submit Luis. And I just think he has a bit more path to victory here. So I'm going to side with Jerome Rivera to get his hand raised.
Perfectly put. I agree. I think Jerome Rivera is due too. We have really no idea what could have happened in that Royval fight had, obviously he not broke his arm. Dude, I mean, I even long before this fight ever materialized, long before Rivera got back to this spot, watching that, is that not one of the most disgusting and awful, hideous injuries you've ever seen inside the cage? He gets and it looks so insignificant, right? Like Royval rushes, he's off balance, he's backing up, it pushes him against the fence. It just looks like a little like bump against it. Man, I guess Royval is stronger than we thought, because he turns around and like his arm was doing the robot by itself. Like, oh, it was terrible. I felt horrible. It was awful.
Freaky. Yeah, we see that from time to time in sports. I remember Paul George, Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman, I guess most notably in MMA.
Marcus Lattimore in college football is a notable one too. They're all in the same category.
Yeah, it happens, but thank God that these guys go on to recover and still compete. So, yeah, it's freaky.
Oh, can't forget Kevin Ware too, Louisville, college basketball. Happened right in front of the Duke bench, and you just saw literally one moment, Kevin Ware's on the ground. 2 seconds later, that Duke bench was cleared. These dudes literally visibly ran away. Dan, so you want to be a fighter. Really quickly, though, we have to point out, too, Luis Rodriguez is 20, bro. He's fought 12 times. He's 20 years old. According to, I mean, dude, it didn't have his age on Tapology. It didn't have his age on SureDog. That is according to my man Sean Bitter, who does brilliant breakdown pieces for Cage Side Press. It said in his piece that he's 20. And if there's a man I'm going to take at his word, it's going to be him.